Welcome to the Asset Reliability at Work podcast.
Endless journey of delight and profitability.
I think some people use it as a derogatory term towards accountants.
Being visible to the employees is important.
Hi, Asset Reliability at Work podcast listeners. Thanks for joining us for another episode. I'm Tara Holwegner, and with me today is Derek Kelly.
Hey, what's going on, listeners?
On today's episode, we're joined by Roger Corley. He's a maintenance planning and scheduling and materials management subject matter expert at Lifecycle Engineering. We're thrilled to have Roger today. He boasts over 30 years of experience in planning and scheduling and storeroom management. Roger's also a certified facilitator with the Lifecycle Institute, where he teaches our maintenance planning and scheduling course, planning for shutdowns, as well as our materials management course. So today, Roger's going to discuss how organizations can benefit from placing value in and investing in their corrective maintenance programs instead of solely deferring maintenance until a planned shutdown period. So thanks so much for joining us, Roger. And hey, Derek, I think we've got a great list of questions for Roger today.
So let's get right into it, Roger. And first, let's just talk about or understand how are day-to-day planning and shutdown planning different?
Well, the biggest thing is the size. Typically, a shutdown or an outage or turnaround, whatever you want to call it, will have maybe even as many as 1,000 jobs, and could take as much as 6 to 8 weeks to complete. And you may have thousands of contractors on site helping you complete those tasks. So other than that, the planning part of it is identical. Where it vastly differs is the scheduling and maybe the detail of the planning on the bigger jobs.
Roger, I want to get your opinion on this one matter, and that is, do you personally think that most facilities do a poor job planning routine corrective jobs?
Yeah, what I've noticed in my travels and in my lifetime, in my experience, even where I used to work, was that the company would spend a large amount of money and time planning and scheduling every possible detail of a shutdown. And at the same time, they spend almost no time or money, especially even some of them don't even have any planners. And if you apply that same rigor, maybe not to the extent of spending all the money, but if you spent some time doing some planning and scheduling, we teach at Lifecycle Institute that every hour of effective planning will save you at least 3 hours of time once you do the execution of the job. And it's a big, huge savings. And most companies just do not recognize that.
So now let's talk about those larger shutdown planning jobs. Do you think organizations that are bringing in contractors to perform shutdown coordinations, do you think that's helping or hurting the organization in the long run?
Right. Well, I don't want the listeners to get the wrong idea. The planners, the everyday planners, if you have them in your organization, will still do the planning of the shutdown jobs, and in some cases they may bring in some temporary planners in the form of contractors to supplement that if the numbers are just really big. One planner can't efficiently do shutdown planning and day-to-day planning at the same time. I think the thing that I've noticed the most, you're going to have to bring in people to help as far as the execution of the work during shutdown. And if your organization is sized so that you can do this, having a full-time, dedicated shutdown coordinator will take a huge load off your planners, and that will free them up to do some of the more important work of the day-to-day planning, which will make your plant more reliable. Shutdowns don't tend to help long-term reliability. They're done to basically just do maintenance where you can't do it otherwise, other than the plant being shut down. Although the initial effect may be a more reliable plant, that's not the goal. The goal is to get this stuff fixed while you can get it fixed. And the reliability part is just an extra benefit, I guess.
So you have different types of planners with a different focus. You have your planners that focus on the day-to-day work execution, and then you have planners that also focus on the longer-term shutdown work. If you think about it, it's kind of like cleaning your house. You have to clean your house about every week, but then when you do the big spring cleaning, you're talking about a whole different scope. You got to move the couches. You have totally different tasks that need to be done, and that requires a different level of planning.
Well, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. we're missing a big opportunity by just focusing on shutdowns and not focusing on day-to-day.
Roger, you mentioned to me before the call today that you believe most manufacturing facilities will see the greatest payback if they invest in daily routine planning. Why do you think that is?
Well, because the daily routine planning is what, I'm trying to search for the right word, but that more or less guarantees or helps to guarantee the reliability of the plant. Like I just said before, you may realize some reliability benefits from shutdown work. That's not the primary focus. The primary focus is to get this stuff fixed and get it back up. And the day-to-day planning tends to focus more on the reliability part of the plant and making it more reliable, so that maybe you don't need as many shutdowns.
So let's ask the flip side of the question. What can I expect the return on my investment to be if I hire a dedicated turnaround coordinator?
Great question, Tara. Having a full-time turnaround coordinator will take an enormous load off the day-to-day planners and enable them to do the work that they were hired to do without tying them down into these, and sometimes very huge jobs that take maybe even weeks to plan, not just hours, but weeks to plan. And if you can get that off the planners, you save a lot of money.
Well, thank you so much, Roger. I think you gave our listeners a lot to think about in terms of the different planning types, your day-to-day planning, your shutdown planning, investing in your corrective maintenance programs. I certainly learned a lot, and I just really appreciate your time.
I appreciate the opportunity, and we'll see you guys soon.
One thing I want to mention to the listeners is that if you go to our podcast show notes, you will see an article that was written by Roger about this topic. You can download that. And we'll have an opportunity for you to connect with him on LinkedIn. So please visit our podcast page for more information. And thanks for joining us for another episode of Asset Reliability at Work. Until the next time.
Hey, listeners, one more thing before you go. If you have any feedback for the show, or you have maybe some suggestions for upcoming topics you'd love to hear about, we'd like to hear from you. So there's two ways to get in contact with us. The first is on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @LCE_today, so be sure to follow us. And then the other way is to email the show at podcast@lce.com. Once again, thank you for joining the show, and we look forward to more episodes on the Asset Reliability at Work podcast.